Another thing that can make it overwhelming to get into federal government contracting is to understand what you're looking at when you're looking at a request for quote or request for proposal, RFP. They're often over 100 pages long and full of sort of hard to read formatting and legalese. The first page, though, is your contract form. So if you look at the bottom, you'll see a little number like SF1449 or SF33. And this is just the government's sort of contract form that gives the basic information. So on this form, you're going to find a lot of key things like who is the agency that's issuing the work? Is there a set-aside status? What is the NAICS code associated with this? When is the proposal due? And the name and contact information for the contracting officer that's in charge of this solicitation. So that's a good sort of overview of what you're looking at. After that, you're going to want to find the statement of work or the performance work statement. Those are in section C, and they're called either one or the other. This is going to describe what is the scope of work, really. What does the work involve? Sometimes I should note that the statement of work or the performance work statement is saved in a completely separate document than the solicitation itself. So you would have found that when you're on SAM and you saw those list of documents, you would have seen PWS or statement of work listed separately. So that's obviously an important thing you're going to want to look through right at the beginning. The next section you'll want to jump to is section L, which is instructions to offerors. This is going to tell you, give you a real quick picture of how long the proposal is expected to be. There'll be a page limit. Is it 7 pages or is it 100 pages? There'll be a number of sections. Maybe each has its own specific number of page limit associated with each one. So this kind of gives you a feel for how big this proposal is and knowing when it's due, how much time you're going to have to get it done. Now you've seen that, section L, go right to the very next section, which is usually section M, and that's evaluation factors. This is the government explaining to you how it's going to evaluate the proposals that it receives and what is important to them. For example, is price the most important thing to the government in this solicitation? If it is, that means it's a race to the bottom, and that may be okay, but it also may not be something that you're wanting to do at this point. They also may have something very specific, so you want to read through that. For example, it may say something like, you have worked with this particular government agency before. If it says something like that and you don't have that experience, you know that they're rating that very high. You might as well move on and find something else to bid on. Make sure that anything that the government is going to be scoring high is something that you will be able to do well. And finally, the last thing that you will want to look for is whether a facility security clearance is required. And the way you'll know this is there'll be a document called a DD 254 attached. If it is, and you don't have that, you know basically that you're not going to be able to prime or sub on that solicitation. So those are some quick steps to kind of jump through that RFQ or RFP and determine whether this is something that you should or should not move forward with.